If you're buying or selling a home in Greater Victoria right now, or thinking about making a move here from Vancouver or Calgary or Toronto, you're probably trying to make sense of one question, and is this the right market to act in? Now, the real answer is that it's more nuanced than the headlines suggest. The Victoria Real Estate Board called April a balanced market. Sales were essentially flat year over year, inventory was up, and prices on the benchmark held steady. But the benchmark is the entry point and not the higher end market. In the $1.5 to $3 million plus tier, Oak Bay, North Saanich, Waterfront properties, and View properties, the picture is more selective, more strategic, frankly more interesting. Now in this update, I'll break down what April's data actually means if you're shopping in the premium tier or selling a higher end property. And I'll tell you what I think the leverage really sits right now. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Alex Hughes with the North Pacific Homes Group. Now we help buyers, sellers, and relocators make confident decisions using local market intelligence and marketing that sells the whole area and not just the home. So let's get into the April numbers. So across the whole Victoria Real Estate Board region, we had 643 property sales. That's basically unchanged from April last year, up about 0.1%, but compared to March, sales were up 11%. The headline is balanced, but balanced doesn't mean uniform. And the entry and mid-market, balanced means there's enough activity to keep good homes moving. In the higher end tier, balanced means buyers are selective, well-informed, and not afraid to walk away. This has direct implications for pricing strategy and how a property is positioned. Active listings sat at 3,710 at the end of April, up almost 14% from March and a little over 8% higher than April of last year. Now, for higher end buyers, more inventory means more choice. You can compare an Oak Bay character home against a contemporary build in North Saanich. You can weigh waterfront against water view. You can take time on due diligence and what matters enormously on older luxury homes where construction, quality, drainage, building envelope, and renovation history all carry long-term costs. Now for higher end sellers, this is where strategy becomes critical. Your buyer's no longer looking at your home in isolation. They're comparing 5 to 15 properties, often from out of town, and often with a clear sense of what they're looking or what they're willing to overlook, I should say, and what they're not. This means presentation, pricing, storytelling are all doing more work than they did 3 years ago. Now by property type, 331 single families homes sold in April, down about 1%. Condo sales were up nearly 6% at 198 units. Townhomes were essentially flat. What this tells me is that demand isn't disappearing, it's stratifying. And detached, the higher end segments is being driven by relocators, established locals upgrading and downsizing who still want quality without compromise. Now below that price band, payment sensitivity is shaping buyer behavior. If you're selling a $2 million plus home in Oak Bay or a waterfront property in North Saanich, the buyer pool is small, but it's specific. They know the area, they've been looking for months. Now the MLS Home Price Index benchmark for a single family home in the core was just over 1.3, which is down about 1% from year over year, but up from March. Now for most conversations, that benchmark floor is floor, not the ceiling. Now in Oak Bay, particularly in the uplands and waterfront pockets, you're often looking at $2.5 million to $5 million plus, depending on the lot, the view, and condition. North Saanich Waterfront and acreages carries its own premium structure that doesn't always track the benchmark. And Saanich, Cordova Bay, they all show real variation depending on that specific neighborhood. So this is why I tell clients, the benchmark is useful as a directional signal. It's not how I price your home. Pricing a property requires looking at active competition, recent sales in your specific micro market, the buyer pool that exists for your particular property type, and a read of how the home shows against the alternatives. Now the sales to active listing ratio puts us in what we refer to as balanced territory. Below 17% is a buyer's market, above 28% is a seller's market, and we're pretty much smack dab in between. Now in a balanced market, neither side has total leverage, but leverage shifts property by property. Well-priced, well-presented home in a nice neighborhood is still going to attract competitive interest, and a stale, overpriced, poorly photographed or weakly positioned can sit for months, and lose negotiating power with every passing week. This is the most part that people underestimate. In a hot market, weak strategy gets carried by demand. In a balanced market, weak strategy costs real money. Stuttering today. Now on April 29th, the Bank of Canada held its overnight rate at 2.25%. Now for higher end buyers, rates matter, maybe less. In Greater Victoria, where they're bringing significant equity from a previous home, a business sale, or a portfolio. They're often paying cash, putting a substantial deposit, or carrying a mortgage that's a fraction of the purchase price. Now, what rates affect more is buyer confidence. Stability, even at higher levels than people go to, help decisions get made, and that rate hold gives that. Now, for sellers, the practical takeaway is that the qualified luxury buyer pool is real but selective. Your home needs to be visible, needs to be positioned for them, and priced in a way that respects their level of due diligence. If you're buying in the higher end tier or relocating from, like I said, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, or Ontario, here's how I think about April's market. You have more inventory than last year. You have more time than the peak years allowed. You can deliberate. But the best properties in the best pockets, the South Oak Bays, the Uplands, the North Saanich Waterfront, the Cordova Bay view homes, they're still moving. So don't confuse a balanced market with a discounted market. Now you gotta spend the time on the neighborhood fit before you spend it on specific listings. Oak Bay Village isn't the same as a North Saanich acreage. A waterfront condo in James Bay is not the same as a heritage home in Rockland, of course. But get the lifestyle decision right first, then we bring in the property analysis. On older homes, heritage properties, mid-century builds, anything pre-1980, got to get very serious about this due diligence. Construction quality, building envelope, drainage, electrical, insurance. These all considerations carry long-term cost. If you're selling a premium home, the market is workable, but it is not forgiving. The mistake I see most often is sellers anchoring to a peak year expectations or a neighbor's asking price. Buyers don't care about either. They're not emotionally buying. They care about how your home compares to what's actively available right now and whether the price respects the current market. Three things matter more than they used to. First, pricing, of course. It's got to be grounded. Current comparables and active competition, not optimism. Now, second, presentation has to do the real work. Photography, video, staging, and copy are all vanity items in luxury market. They drive how out-of-town buyers perceive your home before they even see it. And third, the marketing has to sell the area. Buyers at this level are buying lifestyle, neighborhood, scarcity, and long-term value. If your listing only shows the house, you're leaving money on the table. Now, done well, balanced markets can deliver excellent outcomes for premium sellers, and that strategy has to be there. So, my read on April 2026, it's a balanced, selective, data-driven market. In the higher end tier, especially those buyers and sellers who win, are the ones working with real information, real interpretation, and a clear strategy. Now, if you are considering buying or selling or coming over to our beautiful island in the next few months or even longer, and you want a candid, numbers-grounded conversation about a specific neighborhood, property type, reach out. I'm happy to walk you through it, and I'd be more than happy to connect with you. Again, my name is Alex Hughes with the North Pacific Homes Group. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you at the next update.